Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdette's NewsStand, and I'm kind of doing a retro review again today. It is the theme, but I also want to talk about, I want to talk about marketing when it comes to comic books. Right now, they're in an influx, so it could go either way. The comic book industry could completely go away in some sort of sense, or they could turn this around in this kind of post-apocalyptic, comic apocalypse era and make it really well done. Now, in my last video, I spoke on women in refrigerators, and there has been a little pushback to that, I want to say, simply because, it's easy to go, hey, gore is fine, but, sexual assault is not. And you know what? That's a woman thing. Men may not understand that. So when I'm talking about this book here, which is Grifter number 1, fantastic. I'll tell you that right off the bat, and I am going to go through it. But when I'm talking about this, I want to kind of also discuss how to market comic books to women. Now, I'm not talking about lumberjanes or some stupid shit like that. I'm talking about real comic books. Generally, when it comes to comics, a lot of it is marketed towards men, and that's completely normal, and that's fine. Women find their niche on what they like, whether it's, Grifter or Batman or, Red Hood. A lot of women seem to like the Neil Gaiman stuff. It just depends, on each perspective, but I'm talking in generalizations here, okay? So this is a good example of that. What we're going to get here is, these are all children, right? And women are generally more maternal. I'm talking about real women. I'm not talking about the crazy ones. We are generally more maternal. So seeing, a child here being kidnapped is going to pique our attention. It is going to keep us on our toes. And then you add in, this guy that wants to absolutely just mind wipe these kids and control them. Any girl, any female is going to go, oh my God, I want to protect them. It is a good marketing technique when it comes to just women in general. I love this story. We get, what's going to happen? What are they going to do to these children? And then we get Grifter. We get, this empathetic story of a man that lost his family, lost this, lost that. And we start to side with them. We start to really dive into it. I should mention that I'm generally not a super overly, I don't want to read romance novels. I don't want to go into that kind of stuff. So to have a little bit in a comic book it has to be secondary. It really does. It has to be secondary to good heroic storytelling, action, adventure, good versus evil. All of that absolutely comes first. So, let's talk about just generally the characters that I love this picture. I love this story, but the characters that attract women more than not. So, I don't know if Grifter is one of them. I actually don't know. I personally enjoy him. There's also Nightwing, who typically is known for that booty and attracting female audience. Now you have when he was an agent and other stuff, Nightwing's a very good character. But for myself, it's personally more like Red Hood and Batman. And it really depends on the writing, but the backstory is what, attracts me. The storytelling. You know what? I feel like I walk in circles with my channel. I really do. I feel like I've told these companies time and time again, storytelling has to be at the forefront. No agenda, no bias, no nothing. Storytelling from start to beginning has to be your number one. And you know what? I can say it till I'm red in the face, but they won't listen. So let's talk about this book, and I'll get back into that conversation. Welcome to my channel. I dive around and you jump around all the time. So we are getting, Grifter being basically, this school bus kind of becomes like this weird submarine, okay? And all the kids disappear, but Grifter is able to basically, be hired in order to save these. He really doesn't want to, but of course, it's just the typical story where it's like, you want to be hired? No. And then 2 seconds later, they're like, yeah. So we get an amazing storyline, a lot of really good action, and might I mention, a lot of really good abs. Just thought I'd throw that in there. We're talking about women in storytelling. It doesn't help. It actually only hurt, or it doesn't hurt. It actually only helps your storytelling here. And the narration, the inner monologue is also really important to me. And I don't know if it's, a girl thing, or a reading thing, something like that. Inner monologue is very, very important, almost to every single story. And the reason why I say that is because I want to know what he's thinking. I want to know why his next move is going to be A, B, or C. I want to know what is running through somebody's head during the storytelling. And I actually posted this on my community post a couple days ago. This is probably one of my favorite panels in a book in a really long time. If you're afraid to die, you're already beaten. After some of the things I've seen, death is not so bad. And that's the thing. This is one of those lines that makes you question, everything. It's kind of like, well, if you're afraid to die, it's over. Okay? But there are a lot of things that are worse than dying. Just living in general without seizing your life is a lot worse than dying to me. So I really, really love, this picture in general, this is beautiful. This is really good art. Now, mind you, this is I don't know, a couple years old. I forget. All right, I'll look it up before I edit. But even so, again, right back into the action. We're getting the inner monologue right back into the action. And I even like the way these panels are placed here, simply because they're different. It's not our typical like Alan Moore or Tom King 9 panel or something like that. We're getting a really good different look at this. Now, again, I'm telling you, you can always add the abs. We're always okay with that. But we get him taking down, he's going through all of the bad guy, his name's Odyssey, all of his minions, right? And we're going through all of that. He's getting them all. Like, just this in front of the sun is beautiful. It's simplistic, but it's beautiful. So he gets through them all. We almost have like a Rambo looking dude here. Like, it kind of reminds me of that almost in a weird way. Grifter always is like a cross between Rambo, and then Zach has a character, and I forget his name, that reminds me a lot of Grifter, but I digress. So we see him going through here, and this is going to be an important part here. Now, he's talking about the justification of murder, basically, right? Murder in self-defense. So, how far can you justify killing somebody? How far can it go? Well, what about when you're almost, being killed by a bunch of children that are mind wiped? How far are you willing to take it? And, of course, he's our hero. He's not going to take it that far. And then, it's so perfect. And then we have just, the best scene here is the fact that he's able to get them out of this mind wiping and then, or mind control. And he's able to not hurt a single soul. All of these were the children from the beginning in the school bus. So, they're very young. They were being used as soldiers. And he simply says, I didn't want to hurt anyone. What kind of lesson would that teach to these children? If he was able to kill them in his self-defense at such a young age, what would they go up to remember? It's a really good question. So I really enjoyed this from start to finish. This was fantastic. And like I said, obviously this is, in one book is basically, I talked about this in Mike Miller's review of Lone Star. You're able to pick it up from start to beginning and have a whole story, have a good story. You don't have to know this or that or, anything else. You have a great story all embodied in one old back issue. Well, that's the problem. This is where DC needs to start looking back on. And they need to really look at these back issues and realize what was so golden about them. And what was so good about them was just everything I've said in this video. And if you're going to, like I said, marketing towards women, this is what you do. This is 100% on point. You need, and you know what? Even in the other, if it's not children, a damsel in distress, don't let a girl kid you. I'm not joking. They're going to tell you they don't like it, but they want to be saved. They want to be protected. Yeah, they're lying if they're like, ooh, I'm so tough, I can do it all on my own. Nah, quit playing, honey. You've got that female fantasy of being saved. Damsel in distress, whether it's, female, or you have these children being saved, you have a clear, concise, complete story. And you have, this is fantastic. Like, I have no complaints about this. The art's a little wonky. Like, the faces are a little wonky, but you know what? I didn't notice because it was secondary. It wasn't, I'm buying something here. My God. It was secondary to the rest of the plot. It didn't bother me. It was fantastic. So DC, listen. This is how you do it, and you take a character like, Grifter is not obviously a character that they would use. So take Jason Todd, take Dick Grayson, take somebody like that, take Roy Harper, and emulate this kind of story. You could even do it with Jason Todd, and you could, have Artemis lose her powers and damsel in distress, and there's so many ways you could take this. But when you're marketing towards women, those are key factors, the inner monologue, the damsel in distress, add the romance in at some point, but you have to create a good relationship first. Even so, sorry, I ranted way too much today, whether it's about women in fridge or women in comics, just entirely too much, but I love it. I love this book so much. Everything's fantastic. So, it's by Stephen Grant. Anyways, and the art's by Melvin Ruby. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon and subscribe stars. You guys literally make this channel possible. Huge thank you to Cage the Mick, Robert Mick Twiz, Black Knight Fool, Brucey, Chris Z, David L, David Rafford, Jeffrey Allen Carnes, Mighty Balls, Mike Buckner, Maizen Barbosa, Ruskar, Ryan Decker, and Doc Holiday. You guys are absolutely amazing, and thank you so much for all your support. Don't forget on the way out to like as always if you enjoy the content and hit subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.